Woohoo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington-Normal. So appreciative that you are here with me this morning, this snowy morning. Yes, good morning, Bloomington. It is 6:05 a.m. and welcome to the Conservative Cat Show. We're braving the snow today and we are bringing the warmth right to your ears. Wow, what a sight to wake up to this morning. If you look outside, it looks like you guys just got a little dusting there in Bloomington-Normal, about 1 to 2 inches, a blanket of white snow, but mainly not like a blanket, more like a sheet. A sheet of snow is what we got here in Bloomington-Normal. So not anything too crazy, but it is a sight to look at. In Lincoln, now that's where I'm from, we got like 4.8 inches, something like that, something crazy. So it's been really beautiful to kind of watch. It's quieter, it's softer. There's something just different when it snows. So grab a warm drink, grab a hot coffee. We are going to dig into the news of the day. Let me actually take you through today's headlines. Here we go. We have court filings that confirm that the leak of Roe v. Wade, these leaked documents, you guys remember that from about 3 years ago or so, there was a leak, and that is what inspired the would-be Kavanaugh assassin. So he didn't actually assassinate him, Kavanaugh, a few years ago, but back then there were these there was this leak of the Roe v. Wade ruling, and that is what led him to attempt to assassinate Brett Kavanaugh. So then we have Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He's resigning, folks. Yes, this is the huge news of the day. Pierre Poilievre, this revolution appears to be inevitable at this point. So we're going to be getting into that headline. He's expected to announce his resignation today at some point. I haven't seen him come out and announce it yet, but we'll have to see when he does that. Also, I want to get to this teacher based out of Ohio. She received a massive settlement after being forced to resign over pronouns. Yes, she was forced to resign over pronouns. Absolutely incredible. So she was told to use the pronouns of a student, the preferred pronouns of a student. And of course, this teacher said, no, that's against my religion. That's also against, my scientific understanding of men, women. And I'm not going to be calling my students by their preferred pronouns. I'm not going to do that. Subsequently, she was fired. Then she filed a lawsuit, and she has now received a massive settlement after being forced to resign over pronouns. So she had to she was forced to resign. Ultimately, I say fired, right? So, but they forced her to resign essentially. And she got almost $500,000 from the settlement. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. But let's first start with Nicholas Roske. Now, that name might sound familiar. I talked about this a ton a few years ago. This was in 2022. Okay, this man allegedly attempted to assassinate a Supreme Court justice, Brett Kavanaugh, in the summer of 2022. You guys remember the story. He's sitting in jail right now, and this is just a painfully sluggish process. The latest development is that his lawyers are trying to get a deal for Roske. Roske, all the evidence against him, they're trying to get a lot of that squashed. Okay, his lawyers, Nicholas Roske's lawyers here. So the legal motions submitted by submitted to the U.S. District Judge Peter Masite. This is the judge presiding over the case. The legal motions argue that police lacked a warrant to search Roske's belongings after they arrested him in the early hours of June 8th, 2022. Okay, they're trying to say that the police lacked a warrant and that, the evidence that they obtained against Roske is inadmissible because they didn't get a warrant for all of it. Okay, so they also contend that Roske wasn't given Miranda warnings before being questioned at the scene, and that his statements were voluntary because he was suffering from a mental health crisis while being interrogated at the police station. So they're trying to say that his statements that he gave on the scene are inadmissible because he was going through a mental health crisis and he wasn't given Miranda warnings that he was going to be arrested. So for whatever reason, this process is just agonizingly slow, just so slow. And Morosky has been jailed since his arrest, and he has not sought pretrial release. Okay, so he's been sitting in jail all this time for 3 years. And the interesting bit here is what the documents show surrounding Morosky's statements. We now have new court documents that show that he was driven to this action of possibly assassinating Brett Kavanaugh. He's, kind of close to doing this. And these court documents show that the reason why he went to go assassinate Brett Kavanaugh was because of the leaked draft. There's obviously somebody who leaked this draft. That's illegal. You shouldn't be doing that, leaking the ruling before the Supreme Court rules. That's a big no-no, but somebody did it and nobody's been held accountable for that. But now court documents show that Morosky did in fact he did want to go assassinate Brett Kavanaugh because of the leaked documents. Okay, so he also wanted to go assassinate Brett Kavanaugh because the Supreme Court's upcoming ruling on pro-Second Amendment decisions. So Politico has the story. It says, according to Politico, Morosky also said he was disturbed by a recent trend in Supreme Court rulings toward an increasingly broad interpretation of gun rights. His anger over that issue grew in wake of high-profile mass shootings that took place in Buffalo, New York. You guys remember that in Uvalde, of course. That happened weeks just before Morosky bought a Glock handgun from a gun store. Isn't that interesting? He's anti-gun, but he went and he bought himself a gun to go assassinate Brett Kavanaugh. But he bought a gun from a gun store in California, flew, and then flew out of an airport, took a taxi to Kavanaugh's home in the middle of the night. Okay, so this was very premeditated. Obviously, it looks like it. I mean, innocent until proven guilty, I understand. But at the same time, we can't ignore that, we're expected to believe that this guy was in some sort of mental health crisis. This guy obviously was calm and cool, collected enough to go buy himself a plane ticket, to go get himself a gun from a gun store, to take a taxi to Brett Kavanaugh's home in the middle of the night. So which is it? Was he in a mental health crisis or was he of sound mind? Judicial Watch president Tom Fitton, he's released images now of some of the documents on X, these new court filings. And it really makes for an interesting read, these documents. Fitton's post states, quote, the Biden-Garland Justice Department has slow-walked the prosecution of Morosky's attempted murder of Kavanaugh and his family. It's been nearly 3 years since Morosky has been arrested near Kavanaugh's home. Biden and Garland endorsed and allowed illegal protests outside the homes of Supreme Court justices over the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So let's put it all together, shall we? These court documents, what this all means. We're expected to believe that Nicholas Morosky was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, insane, mental, but he appeared to be lucid enough, like I said, to buy zip ties, other kidnapping paraphernalia, handgun, and travel across the country to find Justice Kavanaugh's house and plan to attack him. Who knows what would have happened had his sister not talked him down. So Morosky's sister talked him down. For an insane reason, the Justice Department, the Biden Justice Department, is dragging their feet on this prosecution. It seems like this is a pretty buttoned up issue. Okay, he was there. They found him with a handgun, zip ties, all of this. He's actually made statements about this, said that the reason why he went there was because of the leaked documents, all of this. So it seems like, they're really dragging their feet on this one. Someone might want to try reminding the Joe Biden Justice Department that the Sixth Amendment, the recognition of a defendant's right to a speedy and public trial, it doesn't mean years and years and years. Okay, you have a right to a speedy and public trial. Somebody might want to remind the Biden Justice Department that doesn't mean years after the initial crime. Okay, the public trial shouldn't happen. We're pushing 3 years after this had happened, after this arrest, after the initial crime. Most of all, once again, this is a creature of the left. This is a product of the left. This guy, Nicholas Roski, he leapt off the deep end here and he started planning the murder of a Supreme Court justice because of some political setbacks like Roe v. Wade and the overturning of Roe v. Wade, or some political judicial decisions from the Supreme Court regarding the Second Amendment. Roski stated he was upset that the Supreme Court understands the Second Amendment, okay, and the Supreme Court rules in favor of the Second Amendment lots of the time. So he reacted, of course. He's upset about the Supreme Court understanding the Second Amendment. He reacted, of course, by obtaining a gun to go plan a murder. Okay, so the judge here, Peter Masite, like I said, will hear these arguments in April. So we're in January. He's going to hear the defense motions. They're trying to dismiss everything. They're going to try to get all the evidence thrown out. Now, Roski's trial is currently scheduled for June 9th. Now, that might change, obviously, because he's got to hear the defense motions. But we're pushing more than 2 years since this alleged attempt on the life of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. So this is a huge story in that we're pushing over 2 years, and this guy has yet to be brought to justice. And I don't know why the Biden Justice Department is dragging their feet on this one. All right. I do want to get to Justin Trudeau. He's expected to announce as early as today that he's going to resign. And, this is amidst, of course, Pierre Poilievre, the conservative. We're all predicting that he is going to have a landslide victory in Canada in October. And, of course, Justin Trudeau is stepping aside. And, I mean, the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, he is facing dismal public opinion polls. His caucus, his own people in his party are revolting against him. And it's very likely that he was going to be swept out of power before resigning by Pierre Poilievre. But I will be back with more of that. Hey, it is snowing. It's still snowing here in Lincoln. There has been a winter storm warning issued for Fulton, Logan, and Mason counties. So far, we've gotten, like in Lincoln, 4.8 inches. And the visibility very, very low. We've got the big flakes coming down. It's very, very slippery conditions. There is a winter weather advisory for McLean County, Peoria, Tazewell, Woodford, and Knox County. I haven't seen so many school cancellations just because most of the schools were already closed for today for Teacher Institute Day. It's right when the kids are supposed to be getting back from the holidays. That was supposed to be Tuesday, okay, January 7th. So there isn't a ton of school cancellations and closures because the kids had off already today. But I am seeing that Olympia School District, they've delayed their start by 1 hour. There's also the Havana School District, which is a little out of out of the Bloomington-Normal listening area. But Havana School District, they've closed. Obviously, Lincoln has closed. Like I said, Clinton, they're closed, but they're having an SIP day. District 87, they're on holiday break. They're going to be coming back January 7th. A lot of these are not due to weather. But another one that was closed due to weather is the Hayworth daycare services that operate out of the Hayworth Elementary School. Those daycare services have been shut down for the day, January 6th, due to the weather. So, and Olympia, due to the weather, delayed by an hour. So we are going to be back here in just a couple of minutes. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington-Normal. Hey, good morning. Go ahead and smash that like button. Share this out with your friends. Where are you at? Are you in central Illinois? Let me know. I'm in Atlanta. Just rain as usual. That's interesting. I'm in Lincoln and we got like 4.8 inches and the drifts are kind of crazy. I haven't seen this much snow in a long time, but it's beautiful. It's some of that like fluffy white snow and it's nice when you don't have to go anywhere. But we're going to be providing road conditions for our central Illinois folks. We had cold, dry, windy snow globe, not sticking. I'm north of the Lone Star. Yeah, that's always annoying, I would say, when it doesn't stick and it's just blowing around everywhere. That causes like whiteout conditions. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Justin Trudeau. He's expected to announce today that he is resigning officially as the Liberal Party leader. Three sources said on Sunday, as the prime minister faces a caucus revolt in dismal public opinion polls. We know that this Pierre Poilievre, I've been discussing this for a couple of years now, that his movement has really gained a lot of traction. Sources stress that they don't know definitely or definitively when. They don't know when he's actually going to announce his plans to leave, but they expect it'll happen before the key national caucus meeting on Wednesday. So I'm thinking he's going to announce pretty shortly, pretty soon. And he's going to probably release a statement. And I'm pretty cool with this. I'm happy. I'm, in fact, overjoyed about Justin Trudeau leaving. Liberals, no doubt, they're going to try to seek a narrative shift here as to why he's leaving. Really, the reason why is because Pierre Poilievre and the conservative movement has gained popularity. Poilievre has become very, very popular. And the Liberals are going to be no doubt they're going to be seeking a shift in this narrative. They want to, take the eyes off of Pierre Poilievre. I don't know what they're going to try to do here with Canada. There's a couple of ways. There's two options essentially for Trudeau's future. The Liberals could name an interim leader, which would see him stepping down as prime minister almost immediately, right? So he would step down as prime minister immediately, and then they'd put in an interim. They could also hold a leadership election. Okay, so that could take months, possibly allowing Trudeau to stay in place until that leadership election is completed, obviously. So he could remain in place as prime minister for months, all the way up to the October election. Either way, I mean, he's done as a political force, and that's a great thing for Canadians. Up north, Will County. Will County, from what I hear, I've got family out there. They didn't get much snow at all. But let me know in the comments section if that's different. Send me a picture, 309 451 9299. You guys can go ahead, send me your snow pics. Yeah, in Lincoln, we definitely got a ton of snow. The Lincoln school districts are all closed, and we've got Havana School District, that's in Mason County, closed, but McLean County seems like pretty fine. Now, I did see in Olympia, they're having a delayed start this morning by an hour. Peoria County, there was a traffic collision alert issued for January 6th, through January 6th, so through today. But most of the schools, they were closed anyway, because the kids were on holiday break, and this day was like a teacher institute day for a lot of schools. Yeah, stay safe out there. The roads, not great. Very, very slick, especially as you're approaching those intersections. We are going to get to Kathy Griffin, your favorite. Kathy Griffin is out there now saying, Donald Trump is going to lock me in an internment camp. I'm on an enemies list. And you have to come out and watch one of my comedy shows. No, I would definitely not go and watch this woman's performance. She claims that Trump is going to send her and put her in an internment camp. Nice. That's the type of one Kathy Griffin is, just completely unhinged. She's the one, of course, that held up the Trump head for Halloween. It was like a mask, and she covered it in ketchup, implying that his head was severed. She is wild. She's horrified, I guess, that Donald Trump is going to put her on some sort of enemy list. Donald Trump probably doesn't even know who Kathy Griffin is. I know I have trouble remembering who this person is. I just remember her from the mask and her holding up the mask of Donald Trump's decapitated head. I'll be right back. We're jumping right back on for our radio friends. Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Count on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington-Normal. Man, it is just so gorgeous out there. There's a blanket of thick white snow here in Lincoln. But in Bloomington, you only got like about 1 inch to 2 inches. So like a dusting. Whether you dread it, there is no denying that there is just this... It's like nature's reset button. Am I right? Everything's quieter, everything's softer, and it's just different. And it's kind of cozy if you don't have to go out outside and drive in this. If you're driving in this, stay safe, because it looks like there's a lot of drifting in Bloomington-Normal. And the roads are very, very slick, especially as you approach those intersections. Olympia School District has been delayed by an hour. The Hayworth daycare services, they've been suspended for the day. Those services are located at the Hayworth Elementary School. A lot of these schools had the day off anyway today, because the kids are coming back from holiday break, and this was the Monday before they came back, and a lot of the schools were using this as a Teacher Institute day. So yeah, a lot of schools aren't even, having school today. So, but Olympia, they've delayed their start by an hour. So give me a text, 309-451-9299, if you want to report a closure, cancellation, or delay. You can find the complete list at cities929.com. You can also find, weather alerts, traffic alerts. There is a traffic collision alert issued for Peoria County through today. The Logan County Health Department, Logan County, I mean, if you're in Logan County, everything's probably pretty much closed. I tried to go out yesterday and, get some... I had just gotten back from South Carolina from visiting some family, and I went out yesterday to the stores. Bread almost completely gone from the shelves. It's always the same time. I actually just needed to go out to the grocery stores and get some food because I had been on vacation and hadn't filled up my refrigerator yet for the week, and I was like, I need to actually go to Aldi, get some food. So I went there, and like the bread's gone, everything's gone, the toilet paper's gone. I'm like, guys, I think it's only going to last a few days. This kind of snow, I don't think it's like one of the worst ones I've seen. Definitely not as far as snowstorms go, but it is very dangerous out there on the roads. So if you can avoid travel, I definitely would do it. There is, like I said, a traffic collision alert issued for Peoria County if you're headed up that way. Winter storm warning is in effect until noon for Logan, Fulton, and Mason counties, with a winter weather advisory until noon. Knox, McLean, Peoria, Tazewell, and Woodford counties, they're under that winter weather advisory. So be safe out there. Before we took the break, I was telling you a little bit about Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau is resigning. Now, I haven't seen him issue like a video statement quite yet. He's expected to do that today. So I think the reason why he's resigning truly is because of Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative. According to Globe and Mail, Trudeau will announce his departure as soon as today in a bid to get ahead of the all-important caucus meeting on Wednesday. So there's a caucus meeting on Wednesday. The controversial far-left leader has led his party into an abyss over the last several years, okay? With the truckers, anti-freedom. This guy is just bad news. And he's terrible for the United States. I've talked about this before, where he dumps all of his subsidized lumber and other things into the United States, and he prices us out because it's all government subsidized, and I think it's violating trade agreements, and he's just a terrible guy. He's not a nice person. And ahead of the October elections, there's October elections, he is resigning, okay, from his party position. So Trudeau will be replaced as prime minister. And I'm not sure what the timeline is going to be here or how they're going to do that. There's a couple of options. I'll get to those here in just a second. But like I said, Pierre Poilievre, he's expected to win in a landslide. Okay, have a landslide victory. The caucus, people in his own party, Justin Trudeau's own party, they're revolting against him. There's dismal public opinion polls out there about Justin Trudeau, and it's probably because of the forced vaccinations and the lockdowns and the truckers, right? So we are going, or the Freedom truckers, like they were, taking part in these protests. And you guys remember all of this. They were taking part in these protests, and they were actually jailing and finding these truckers and retaliating against them for speaking out and trying to speak out against these mandates, the vaccination mandates. So sources stress that they don't know definitively when Trudeau is going to announce his plans to leave as prime minister, but we're expecting that to happen before Wednesday this week. Liberals will no doubt try to shift this narrative. Like I said, they're going to shift it away from this whole Pierre Poilievre thing. They don't want Pierre Poilievre to appear popular, so they're going to come up with some sort of narrative. I don't know what kind yet, but definitely we know what's happening here. He gave one of the most amazing political speeches of all time, Pierre Poilievre, I think. And I've got a piece of it here, and I'm going to play for you. Change is coming to Canada, and it's only a matter of time. And, October, the elections. Okay, so let's take a listen. Here we go.
When I travel
let's see if I can pull this up. Here we go.
Across this country, I consistently meet two types of people. One, those who are a little better off and tell me that, and I'll be very blunt about this, if I don't win, they will leave the country. And they are very numerous. Yes. But I don't worry about them as much. You know who I worry about? The ones who can't leave. The ones who don't know, and if I can just use very blunt language, who tell me I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I have no idea how I'm going to pay my way. That's right. I met a waitress at a restaurant not long ago, and she came up to me and she grabbed me by the hand and she said, "You have to win." And I said, "Oh, thank you. I appreciate your support." She said, No, it wasn't a compliment. You have to win. And then she told me her story. She told me that she was working one full-time job and two part-time jobs just to pay her bills as a single woman in her late 50s. And she was tired of working all the time. So she cut everything out of her budget, every creature comfort, everything she enjoyed about her life, she cut it out so that she could drop one of those part-time jobs. And then one morning, she woke up and she walked outside and her car was gone. And she called her insurance and they said they weren't going to cover the replacement value. So she had to take that job back because she simply cannot live her life without a car. Now you can bet your bottom dollar the guy who stole the car, he was probably out on bail. This was not his first job.
That's right.
Her taxes have gone up. Her heating bill has gone up. Her wages have not gone up. She's scared to go out in the streets in places where they didn't even lock the door not long ago. These are the people we're fighting for. These silly games over here, they're very entertaining. The soap opera that everyone's seized with today, that's all fine. But there are real people whose lives are on the line here, and we have a duty to work for them. And quite frankly...
Okay. This speech, it goes on, and I think it's one of the best political speeches of all time. I really do. It's one of the greatest political speeches in modern history. And it's drawing applause from all over the world. He's a very popular guy. He's fresh. And he's conservative. So no doubt the incoming Trump administration is going to really be thrilled about the prospect of Trudeau being pushed aside by Pierre Poilievre. Okay. It would represent a humiliation for one of Trump's biggest international opponents. Justin Trudeau is one of Trump's biggest international opponents. But more importantly, it would also loosen up some economic tensions. I've discussed this before. It's going to save both countries a whole lot of pain and suffering through a possible trade war. Like I said, we've discussed Donald Trump saying, "Oh, Canada should just become the 51st state," and he said that jokingly. But really, when you look at it, Canada is violating their trade agreements. And costing America tons and tons of money and tons of jobs because they're using their government subsidized things like lumber and other things that they trade across the border here. They're dumping that in here, and we can't compete because it's government subsidized. And we can't compete with that. Our sectors of, our lumber sector can't compete. So now there's only two options for Justin Trudeau. There's only two options for his futures. The Liberals, the Liberal Party of Canada, they could name an interim leader and he would step aside immediately. And then they'd place in this interim leader. Or they could hold a leadership election, which could take months, allowing Trudeau to stay as prime minister and remain in place in that position until that leadership election is completed. Either way, he's done, Justin Trudeau, and that is a great thing, an amazing thing for Canadians. So this is the best news that after a couple of weeks here of terrible, just heart-wrenching news, this is great news for Canadians. Great news for waitresses that Pierre Poilievre was talking about in his political speech. I don't know. They might try to play something here. The Liberal Party of Canada, they might try to, squeeze in an interim leader or hold a leadership election. I don't know what option they're going to go for here, but they could try to play some politics with that and try to keep Trudeau in place as long as possible and try to sway the election with this decision. But there's no stopping Pierre Poilievre. You heard the speech. This guy is popular, and they know that there is no stopping him. That's why Justin Trudeau was forced to resign, because he's just so unpopular in comparison to Pierre Poilievre. So maybe they're trying something like a Kamala Harris move, right? How they had to install Kamala Harris as the new nominee because Joe Biden was clearly senile and dementia riddled, and they had to install a new nominee. They might be doing this here with Trudeau because Trudeau is no match for Pierre Poilievre. So I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington-Normal. Trump's even making Canada great again. Yeah, honestly, I don't know. Maybe Justin Trudeau resigned because he's afraid of Donald Trump and what Donald Trump is going to do to Canada. Well, they're not going to have their free ride anymore, okay? Donald Trump made that very, very clear. We're protecting the Canadian border. We're the ones policing the Canadian border. And we continuously get screwed over through these trade deals. Like I said, the government lumber, they're subsidizing their lumber industry in Canada. And that makes it so much harder for Americans to thrive, American lumber companies to thrive here in the United States, because they can't compete with that because there's an endless supply of money being funneled into this lumber, and they can underprice our lumber industry time and time again. And what does that lead to? Mass layoffs. It also leads to things like housing shortage that we're dealing with here in the United States, our homelessness population that the Democrats always cry about, right? And they're like, oh, it's a supply issue. There's not enough houses. We need to build more houses. Well, we can't, okay? Here in America, we can't build houses. We're using the Canadian lumber industry because it's priced so low that that's the only one that people are using. And we can't even produce our own lumber here. And we have to wait for Trudeau's lumber industry. I call it Trudeau's lumber industry because it's subsidizing him. He's totally willing to tax people into oblivion, like this waitress that Pierre Poilievre talked about. I'm actually going to play a little bit more of that. I think that this is one of the best political speeches of all time. Take a listen.
This woman doesn't see me as any, or any of us as any kind of savior. They see us all as a last hope. In fact, she doesn't want to be saved. She just wants her life back.
Exactly.
She was taking care of herself just fine before her tax, her heat, her grocery bill went through the roof and her car went missing. She was doing just fine. She was doing everything right. Met another guy at the Labrat Brewery a few days ago, and you can watch the video of me talking with him. He walked up to me and he said, I have 3 jobs and I can't make it. We're renting. We have no hope. We've given up on ever owning a home. We're renting. We can barely make it. And he said to me, I feel ashamed when I talk to my kids because they ask me why I'm never around and why we can never have a house. And I feel like a failure. But he didn't fail. He has been failed.
That's right.
He has been robbed of the promise of Canada. It was a very simple promise that if you worked hard, you got a good life. Now, it wasn't fancy or extravagant, but you got a house with a yard where you could have kids playing safely. And you could have a nice dog that you could afford to feed along with the kids. And your kids could play safely in the streets. That was the promise. Now, politicians break promises all the time. But you know what was bad about this promise? This promise didn't belong to this prime minister. It wasn't his promise to break. It belonged to all of us. And our purpose is to bring home that promise for that young man, that young father, and that older female worker so that they can once again take back control of their lives, live in a safe country where their hard work earns them a good wage, where their rent and their food is affordable, and where when they go to bed at night, they know that they will be safe throughout their sleep and that they will have their car in their driveway in the morning. A country where people are proud again to fly the flag, where they know the government is a servant and not a master, where they understand that every day the Commons, this place, works for the common people, not for the ego of one man desperate to cling on to his job. We must remember that we are servants in this place. We have a job to do on behalf of the people who sent us here. Our personal dramas are not important. The dramas that should seize all of our concern and imagination are the daily dramas of the working women and men that build this country. We are in it for them. We're going to give them back control of their lives in the freest country on earth, Canada. Let's bring it home.
Yay! Come on, get up, Lambert.
So there you have it, folks. One of the best political speeches, and I'll say that for 100%, I think it's one of the best political speeches ever given in modern history. Pierre Poilievre. So we are going to be talking a little bit more about compelled speech here in the United States. You know, you guys remember the truckers who stood up against the vaccine mandates in Canada, and they were spied on, their cell phones were tapped. I mean, just all kinds of craziness that went on there in Canada. But we can't forget that here in America, compelled speech happens. Unconstitutional compelled speech happens, especially when it goes against, one's political beliefs or religious beliefs. They'll force you to say pronouns. They'll force you, they'll compel speech. And in America, that's unconstitutional. And I guess people in the public sector, these leftist teachers, didn't understand that, and they tried to compel the speech of a teacher. And she wound up with a hefty award, $450,000, almost $500,000. So we're going to be chatting about that. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. It is 6:46 a.m. and wow, what a sight to wake up today. Like a dusting in Bloomington, 1 to 2 inches. As you go down south, it gets just thicker and thicker and thicker, that thick blanket of white snow. I woke up to it this morning, had to shovel out a little pathway for my dog. She refuses to go. She loves the snow. but she refuses to go to the bathroom in the snow. She just stands out there and like grazes on the snow like a cow, and she'll just eat it, like eat the snow. And I'm like, oh, come on, just go to the bathroom. It's freezing out here. So everything's just quieter, softer, and just different when there's some snow on the ground. So slow down, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy the coziness of the season. If you can avoid going out, I really do think that the roads are just too slick. The intersections, as you approach the intersections, those get really, really slick. So just stay safe, slow down if you got to go out this morning, and we'll have road updates for you all this morning. Now, Olympia, they have delayed their start by an hour this morning. Most of the schools in your area, the Bloomington-Normal area, were closed anyway. Like District 87 closed anyway. You had just Teacher Institute days because the kids were coming back for school after the holiday. And they're not coming back until January 7th. Okay, so classes will resume for District 87 on January 7th. A lot of these, Clinton, they had a remote day. They have an SIP day, and that was already scheduled. It wasn't due to weather. So Havana School District closed due to the weather. That's in Mason County. Hayworth, the daycare services that are typically ran out of the Hayworth Elementary School, they're not offering those today, January 6th. So Pontiac, like I said, they're resuming school on January 7th. So today was kind of like a Teacher Institute day for a lot of the area schools. So they were already off, which is kind of like, oh man, wouldn't it have been cool had all the snow happened on Tuesday? Right. Because then the kids would have an extra long break. But of course it happened on today, and they've already got today off, a lot of the students. So text me, let me know if you know of a closing, cancellation, or delay, or report it on cities929.com. Like I said, there is a traffic collision alert issued for Peoria County. That's going to be through January 6th through today. Logan County Health Department closed. Other than that, not a whole lot of closures, cancellations that I'm seeing this morning. So the delay, of course, to Olympia was the big news. Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry about that. I was like, whoa, 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 what's going on? I clicked a button, monkey buttons this morning. But before I took the break, I was telling you a little bit about Justin Trudeau resigning. We're going to have Justin Trudeau probably announce that today, or at least at some point before Wednesday, because this Wednesday, there's this caucus meeting for the Liberal Party, and there's people within his own party that don't like him. We have a very similar situation to the United States elections. Kamala Harris was installed after we found out that Joe Biden was senile, although we all knew that Joe Biden was senile and dementia-riddled. Now they've installed Kamala Harris. I think it was in July at some point after that debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And the Democrat Party, they started losing their minds, and they were like, who are we going to put in? Who are we going to put in? And then they installed Kamala Harris. She didn't run in the primary or anything like that. So I have a feeling that liberals will no doubt try to seek a narrative shift by bringing in a fresh face before voters go to the polls. Canadian voters go to the polls. They're going to try to bring in a fresh face that will, chip away at the popularity of Pierre Poilievre. And I don't know. I think it's a lost cause, though, because Pierre Poilievre has become extremely popular. Okay, people are applauding him from all around the world. Okay, not just in Canada. He's very popular internationally, and the Trump administration, I'm sure, is going to be thrilled with a Pierre Poilievre ticket or win. I think he's actually going to win in October of 2025, the Canadian election. Like I said, there's two options for Trudeau at this point. They're going to either name an interim leader, or he's going to be immediately replaced by an interim leader, or they're going to hold a leadership election, which I have a feeling they're going to do that just to play politics. And then that's going to take months, and that's going to allow Trudeau to remain in place until that's completed. And for this 2025 October race between Pierre Poilievre, they're going to throw in a fresh face. It's similar to that of Kamala Harris, where they throw in this fresh face. to try to chip away at the popularity of Pierre Poilievre, the conservative candidate there. So I've got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat. We're going to talk about compelled speech and how it's unconstitutional actually here in America, but apparently the leftist teachers working in the public sector don't care about that. That compelled speech is, hey, it's unconstitutional. You can't do that to people. They don't care about that when they're beholden to their ideologies. And this teacher was awarded $450,000 after being dismissed for refusing to use a student's pronouns. Yes, this actually happened. She didn't want to use the student's pronouns. They forced her to resign, practically, the public sector school. And now, guess what? Fast forward, she's $450,000 richer. I'll be right back with that next. Hey, go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. When we come back, we're going to be talking about that teacher who was awarded nearly $500,000 for being dismissed because she refused to use a student's preferred pronouns. Yeah, Justin Trudeau. Is it because of Jeffrey Epstein's client list being leaked or being coming out soon? Who knows, huh, Justin? Is that why you're resigning? I love it. Thanks so much, Joe, for commenting. Yes. Justin Trudeau, a corrupt jackwagon, okay, to say the least. And really what they're doing here is a Kamala Harris 2.0. They're trying to install a new fresh face, somebody that isn't as terrible as Justin Trudeau. People in his own party don't really like him, which, Kamala Harris, there were plenty of people in her party that didn't, or with Joe Biden, not Kamala Harris, there were plenty of people in the party that didn't like Joe Biden. Okay, I mean, Barack Obama, I'm pretty sure, had come out and called Joe Biden an idiot. And a lot of people didn't like Joe Biden. They put him in there because they figured, oh, well, he kind of deserves this after 47 years in politics or whatever. And we'll just, control everything from behind the scenes. So same thing's going on here with Justin Trudeau. It's just that they're going to install a new fresh face in this race. They're going to select a new candidate. And I'm fine with that because Pierre Poilievre, it's not going to work. He's already got this huge following, and he's extremely popular. So they can try to pull as much debauchery as they want, or pull as much political debauchery as they want, whether they name an interim and Trudeau resigns immediately and is replaced immediately, or they hold a leadership election on top of the regular election and try to mess with the Canadian voters. Either way, Trudeau's done. He's no longer a political force. So that's really exciting, and I think the Trump administration is going to be thrilled about that. Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. It's like a sheet of snow. I wouldn't call it a blanket of snow in Bloomington-Normal. It's like a sheet of snow. But be safe. It's kind of slick out there. Here in Lincoln, I mean, that's where I live, 4.8 inches. Some of these drifts, it looks like about 6-7 inches. So lots of snow. I had to shovel this morning for my little pup. She would not go to the bathroom. She doesn't like going to the bathroom on the snow. She likes eating it, but she will not go to the bathroom. All right, when we come back at the top of the hour, I've got more news ahead. I do want to get to Kathy Griffin. She says that Trump's going to throw her into an internment camp and put her on an enemy list. Girl, I don't even think Trump knows who you are. Okay, Kathy Griffin. I'll be right back. You're listening to Cities 92.9. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. When we come back, we're going to be talking a little bit about Vivian Garagity. She's a former teacher at Jackson Local Schools in Stark County. This is Ohio. It's a 2022 lawsuit, okay, that she had waged against the school. It's a lawsuit against the school district, and she was instructed to address two students by their preferred pronouns, okay, and their names, their preferred names and pronouns, and she refused to do it. She claimed that request signified the students' decisions to transition genders. Inconsistent. It was like she claimed that request, if she were to fulfill their request, that she would be condoning really the students' decisions to transition to genders inconsistent with their sex assigned at birth. And she argued that in the suit, she argued that using pronouns went against scientific understanding and her Christian faith. So they compelled speech. They tried to compel her to call the students by their preferred pronouns. And guess what? This woman is now $450,000 richer after the school dismissed her for refusing to use the students' preferred pronouns. So we're going to get to that story, plus NBC attempting to write an article in journalism. They attempted to do a journalism with this whole there's this fake outrage. It's not even an outrage. Squid Game. Are you guys aware of this TV series? I did not finish it because, quite frankly, I am a Hallmark watching, Disney princess watching individual when it comes to television entertainment. I don't watch things that are scary, thrillers, murder things. I just can't do it. Makes my stomach a little upset. So the Squid Game thing, I gave it up because it was just a little bit too much for me. Now, I have watched things like, Law and Order or Criminal Minds. That's more of a detective thriller. But anything that is gross or bloody or yeah, I can't do it. It's just gross. So Squid Game, apparently they had a cisgender person, an actor, pretend to be a transgender person, and I guess the trans community is outraged about it, according to MSNBC or NBC. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington-Normal. Man, a little sheet of snowfall this morning in Bloomington-Normal, about 1 to 2 inches. In Lincoln, they had about 4.8 inches. That's where I'm from. A pretty thick amount of snow as you get down south. In Springfield, they had even more. Quincy, the snow started in Quincy. Somebody had told me it started so yesterday was Sunday. It started Saturday night at 11 p.m. and it hasn't stopped. So they're dealing with a lot of snowfall as you get down south. The further south you go, the more snow there is, which is kind of interesting. Usually it's the opposite because you got Chicago, the lake, the Kankakee River. My parents are up in Will County, and typically they get way more snow than McLean County because of the river there. There's this lake effect or this river effect, I guess, and they just wind up getting a ton of snow. But this is different. We've got the south is just covered by snow, 4.8 inches here in Lincoln, and then you've got Springfield experiencing 6 to 7 inches from what I'm hearing, but in Bloomington 1 to 2 inches. It's just really a dusting, and but the roads are slick. It's almost worse when it's 1 to 2 inches rather than the 4.8 6 inches, because the plows, will they come out for 1 inch? Maybe not. They'll get to it. There's not this sense of urgency to plow all the roads, I think, when it's a small dusting. And then the roads are almost more slick when it's just a little bit of snow, and it's harder to drive in. So be careful as you're approaching intersections. There is a traffic collision alert issued for Peoria County. Like I said, Olympia, that's the big news today. They were delayed by an hour, but most of the school districts were closed anyway, because of the holiday break, and they're all scheduled to come back tomorrow, January 7th. So Before I took break, I was telling you a little bit about this teacher, this woman. She's $450,000 richer now. And good for her, because here in America, compelled speech is unconstitutional. And it's super unconstitutional when it goes against people's religious beliefs, okay, or their political beliefs. Leftists working in the public sector, these leftist teachers or the leftist administrators of the school, they didn't seem to care about compelled speech because they're beholden to this progressive ideology. They're beholden to their progressive priorities, and they compelled speech despite it being against our founding principles. You cannot compel speech. And this teacher, she was awarded $450,000 after being dismissed for refusing to use a student's preferred pronouns. Vivian, according to CITC, this is a local news outlet. It's in Ohio. Okay, Jackson Local School Districts in Stark County, Ohio. Vivian Garrigdy, that's her last name. She's a former teacher there. She claimed in a 2022 lawsuit that she was instructed to address students by their preferred pronouns and their preferred names. Now, she didn't want to call them by their preferred pronouns because guess what, folks? That's, essentially you're condoning them and their decision to transition their gender to a gender that is inconsistent with their sex. Okay, and she was not about that. She goes, look, that's against my religious beliefs as a Christian, but also it's against my scientific understanding. Men, women, take a listen. Here we go.
I told them that I would not because of my religious beliefs, and within 2 hours I was forced to pack up my belongings and escorted out of the school.
Vivian Garrity is an Ohio teacher who claims in a lawsuit she was forced to resign when she would not accommodate two students who asked to be called by different names and pronouns. The school board voted to accept her resignation in September. We have blurred her appearance due to concerns for her safety.
I am a professing Christian. I go to church 4 times a week. It is the largest part of my identity, and I do believe that God only created 2 sexes.
The Alliance Defending Freedom filed the lawsuit on Garrity's behalf against the Jackson Memorial Middle School principal, the Board of Education, and 2 district employees seeking reinstatement to her teaching job.
The case here raises a critical issue, and that's whether or not public schools can order teachers to set their religious beliefs aside as a condition of public service.
All right, folks. So there you have it. You've got this teacher, Vivian Garrigdy. She's a former teacher of this Jackson School District, schools in Stark County, Ohio. And Vivian, she argued in the suit that, hey, this is my scientific understanding. There's men, there's women. I'm not going to call a little girl a boy. I'm not going to call her by her preferred pronouns because it's just a lie and it goes against my Christian faith and my scientific understanding. Preferred pronouns, that's exactly what they are. See, I don't understand how you could have dismissed her, Vivian, this teacher, because it's in the name, preferred pronouns. It's your preferred pronouns. It's not your actual pronouns. It's your preferred pronouns. And if you prefer me to call you that, that's fine. But I don't have to, see, because they're preferred pronouns. Preferred pronouns are nothing more than a delusional lie, and any school forcing this on the masses has no business educating students. If you're forcing teachers to call students by their preferred pronouns, you have no business in the education world or in the education industry at all. Quote, but as soon as defendants found out that Miss Vivian had religious basis for resisting their attempt to implement an orthodoxy, they forced her to resign. That's what the lawsuit reads. Not only is this ridiculous, but it teaches students that they can just throw a temper tantrum. Okay, Miss Vivian, she's not calling me by my preferred pronouns, so I'm going to get my way, and I'm going to have the teacher resign, like forced to be resigned and fired, essentially. And I'm going to get my way if I cry about my teacher not calling me by my preferred pronouns. That's so stupid. In the real world, so let's just put all the transgenderism crap aside. In the real world, if you're transgender and somebody doesn't call you by your preferred pronouns, what do? Do you throw a temper tantrum, or you just move on with your life? Okay, and this is teaching them that it's okay to throw a temper tantrum, and actually you're going to get what you want. And in the real world, if your colleague later down the road calls you not by your preferred pronouns, but by your actual pronouns, or the pronouns that correspond with and are consistent with your sex, if they call you by your actual pronouns, what are you going to do? Cry, moan to your boss and get them fired? I don't know if that is actually going to work out that way. But this is just ridiculous. 2 years later, the school agreed to pay $450,000 in damages and attorney fees for violating the teacher's freedom of speech, according to the Alliance Defending Freedom. This is a legal group. Quote, no school official can force a teacher to set her religious beliefs aside in order to keep her job. This is what the legal counsel for ADF, the Alliance Defending Freedom, had said. The legal counsel continues. They say, the school tried to force Vivian to accept and repeat the school's viewpoint on issues that go against, that go to the foundation of morality and human identity, like what makes us male and female. She was forced to repeat the school's viewpoint. In this compelled speech that, having to say the students' pronouns, and they're ordering her to personally participate in the social transitioning of children and the gender transitioning of children, and that went against her religious beliefs. So the school was forced to pay nearly $500,000 to this woman, this school was committed to this foolish ideology so much that they were willing to force this woman to resign, and now they have to deal with it. $450 million they have to pay out, and that's taxpayer money, right? The school has to pay that. They don't make money. It's a public sector school. It's a public school, so the taxpayers have to pay that. So because the school is beholden to this ideology, this foolish ideology, the taxpayers are now out $450,000. Individuals are not educators, but they are activists, these individuals at this school. They are activists. They are not educators. They have no business educating your children in the next generation. So good for this lady, this teacher. I'm glad that it all worked out in the end. I'm sure it was one hell of a fight. She's been fighting this since 2022, and she finally got her $500,000, nearly $500,000. All right. I want to shift gears. Let's talk about Squid Game. Do you guys watch this show? Text me 309-451-9299. I don't watch this show. I am a Hallmark watching, Disney princess watching individual. I am not a blood, gore, thriller, survival thriller, murdering person. I can't watch stuff like that. I don't watch horror movies at all. I just can't handle it. I don't know what it is, but I've never been a fan of them. But NBC, they have attempted a journalism, an article here on the alleged outrage. Now, I don't think that there's actually outrage, and I'll get to that here in a second, but they're attempting this article, and they wrote this article about the outrage surrounding a cisgender actor in Squid Game, this television series on Netflix. The cisgender actor had actually been playing a part, and they played a part of a transgender individual. Okay, so they didn't actually cast a transgender individual in this part. They casted a cisgender actor. So we're going to get to that. Plus, we are going to get to this comedian. I use that term loosely. And she's horrified, just completely horrified about Donald Trump getting in, and the incoming Trump administration is going to put her on an enemy list. Yes, and send her to an internment camp. I promise you, Kathy Griffin, Donald Trump has no idea probably who you even are. He's not going to send you to an internment camp or put you on an enemy list. And she's urging people to go watch her shows, her comedy bits. I don't know if she goes around and does stand up. I actually have no idea what this woman does. She's not even like a well-known comedian like Adam Sandler or I have no idea what Kathy Griffin even does. But she's like a D-list comedian, okay? And she's horrified about Donald Trump coming in and sending her to an internment camp, so much so that she's urging her audiences to go watch her before she winds up in an internment camp. Deranged. Can somebody say Trump derangement syndrome? I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Hey, go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. What happens if you're in the hospital and you get a trans nurse? It's not funny. It happened to my mom. Oh boy. Yeah, you know what was really weird? I don't know. All of these hospitals and healthcare systems, much like the education industry, and I'm just going to call them industries because that's actually what they are. They're trying to make money. There's a bunch of leftists in that industry, in the healthcare industry, in the education industry. When I went, I had just gotten a quick checkup. I thought I had injured myself. I was lifting and I thought I had injured myself and I went to the hospital. I will never do it again. I will do my best to just let things go. I know that's terrible to say, but I will I'm just going to stick with the old adage of rub some dirt on it. You'll be fine. Because when I went, not a doctor to be seen. It's the weirdest thing when you go to the hospital or to the doctor now, you'll never meet the doctor. It's just this figment of imagination anymore, like the doctor. When I used to go to the doctor when I was a kid and when my mom would take me, there was this guy, cold hands, and would check my lymph nodes and check me out and make sure I'm doing okay. And he was very, very smart. And this was just all growing up. I always had doctors who'd come in. Sometimes, they were white guys. Sometimes they were Indian guys, right? And really, it was just smart men. I didn't really have a whole lot of female doctors, but really just smart men, just top of their field, educated, clearly went to got their PhD and went to 8 years of schooling. Okay, they're just top of their field, just educated. And I'm not saying nurse practitioners aren't, but there's definitely a difference when you see a doctor and when you see a nurse practitioner, and there should be, because doctors go to years and years more school than a nurse practitioner. But if you were to go to a hospital or doctor's office, likely you won't even be able to see the doctor because there's only about 3 in your area and they're all remote and they only come in when necessary. Okay, so we're living in a world of just no excellence, just mediocrity, and we're not going to put people at the top of their field in these positions anymore, and they're not going to go to work every single day. They're going to be remote and they're only going to come in if necessary. These people who are top of their field. That's just what I've noticed in the healthcare industry, is that you'll have these nurse practitioners and CNAs and RNAs and whatever, and when you ask for the doctor, they're like, he's not here. Why? What? It's called going to the doctor, wanting to see a doctor. And it's next to impossible to try to get an appointment with an actual doctor or a specialist. You have to go through a nurse practitioner first, and then you got to schedule another appointment to go see a specialist, and it's just a mess. So long story short, I went and I, had thought I injured myself. I'm all right. And when I went, they had, and I'm not kidding you, I could not lie about this if I wanted to. They had little pins on their shirt here, and they had I'm trans, or I'm a trans advocate or something, and it was the little transgender flag, and it was a big old button that they would wear on their shirts, and almost all of the staff members had this on their shirts. So they're not even really nurses, they're activists. Okay, if you are literally campaigning or sporting a button that says I'm a trans activist, and you're there's no reason why you would need that button in this industry, right? It's not a name tag, right? It's not a part of your what do you call it, it's not part of your, industry garb. You're not forced to wear this a name tag or a badge, or, even the masking, right? And I have no problem with nurses wearing masks, because originally what the mask box used to say was that This is not a preventative for respiratory illnesses. This does not prevent illnesses. This is, solely the doctors are supposed to be, or the masks are supposed to be to avoid bodily fluids going into open wounds. Okay, your spit, your sneezes, your coughs going into open wounds, which you could be exposed to in a hospital setting or in a doctor setting. So no issue with nurses wearing masks. But this is not a part of your uniform, obviously, the transgender button. Okay, so I went to the hospital just for a quick checkup because I thought I had injured myself. I'm all right. But I mean, I could not believe the activism that I saw. And, when you go into school districts, if you haven't gone into your kids' school district, I implore you, go and walk around and you will see the propaganda lining the hallways. You'll see, diversity is our strength, LGBTQ flags everywhere. I mean, that is what you're going to see in your public school. I'm sorry, but it's straight up. These aren't educators. These aren't nurses. They're activists. Woohoo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat City's 92.9. Have you got something warm to drink? There is a little sheet of snow out there. That's what I've been calling it here in Bloomington-Normal because it completely missed Bloomington-Normal 1 to 2 inches. You go down south by 30 minutes and you're looking at 6 inches of snow. I think it's still going. Yep, I'm peeking out. Still going in Lincoln, Illinois. Still going. So Springfield, they got hit much worse than Lincoln. And as you go down Quincy, they've been dealing with snowfall since Saturday night, starting at 11 p.m. and it's still going. So they've been getting a ton of snow down south, our friends to the south, which is kind of interesting, like I said, because that never happens. Typically, it's the other way around. The further north you go, the closer you get to Chicago, you get the lake effect, you get way more snow. In Will County, there's that Kankakee River that cuts through, and my folks, they live in Will County, and they always get way more snow than McLean County. But Bloomington kind of missed us, 1-2 inches, but it's still really slick out there. So be careful. There is a traffic collision alert issued for Peoria County. Olympia School District, they were delayed by 1 hour. Most of the schools around our area were closed anyway today. So for like Teacher Institute days, District 87, they were closed for a Teacher Institute type day. And the kids are returning from holiday break on Tuesday, January 7th. And most schools are like that around here, where they had the day off anyway. So just some minor blowing and drifting here in Bloomington-Normal, 1 to 2 inches. Roads are slick, especially near the intersections. Before I took the break, I was telling you a little bit about Squid Game. Have you guys watched this show? Let me know, 309-451-9299. Maybe you haven't watched it. Maybe you're like me and you're like a Hallmark watching, Disney princess watching viewer. I don't do survival thrillers or murdering things or anything like that, gore and blood. I just can't do it. But Netflix, they have this TV series. It's called Squid Game, and they are shattering the glass ceiling in their season 2. Okay, the glass ceiling is just shattered, glass pieces all over the floor, with their first ever transgender contestant in the Squid Games. So the actor playing the trans character is actually cisgender male, so like a straight male. Cisgender, it's such a silly term. Really what that is just a guy who likes women. Okay, so I mean, straight used to be the term, right? So a cisgender male is playing this trans actor instead of a transgender female. And NBC News will have you know there are people bothered by this. They are so bothered, and the unintentionally hilarious title of this piece that NBC News writes up is called "Viewers Call Out Squid Game for Casting a Cisgender Actor as a Trans Character." Okay, so like when I saw that headline from NBC News this morning, "Viewers Call Out Squid Game for Casting a Cisgender Actor as a Trans Character," I was just like, man, have we really gotten this far where we've got, NBC News, which is supposed to be mainstream news. People are supposed to get their headlines from these guys. They're out there reporting on how Squid Game, the producers of Squid Game, casted a straight guy as a transgender individual. So Wikipedia defines Squid Games as a South Korean dystopian survival thriller television series that revolves around a secret contest where 456 players, all of whom are in deep financial hardship, risk their lives and play a series of deadly childhood games, children's game for a chance to win money. Okay, so these are like deadly games that they have to play in, and it's a popular survival thriller television series. That's what Squid Games is. So one of the contestants, Hyun Ju, is a trans individual and plans to use the prize money for her genital mutilation surgery. The rub is Haiju is played by a he and not a she. It's supposed to be a she, him. Like she wants to be a male, and she wants, to be go through gender transitioning surgery. The actor is not a she, her, and not a female trans individual, but rather it's a straight male. So neither Squid Game creator Wong Dong-haku, and I'm going to try my best with these Korean names, the creator of Squid Game, nor the actor Park Sung-hoon, the actor who is playing the trans character, responded to NBC's news request for comment. So NBC News actually reached out to the creator of Squid Game. They actually reached out to the actor, and they reached out for comment. Netflix confirmed the show did work with trans and LGBTQ consultants while creating the second season. But in an interview with TV Guide, Wong said it was near impossible to find a trans actor for the role. Yeah, they're in the minority. There's not a ton of transgender people in general, let alone trans people who can act, okay, and who are actors or actresses, okay? So this is just so stupid, okay? So among the laziest progressive outrages, it's when when the left gets all upset and outraged about things. This is one of the ones that just is so lazy to me. Like there's so many other things that you can be outraged about. A lot of it is stupid, but this one is just lazy outrage. When you've got a non-marginalized actor pretending to be a marginalized character, okay? Like I said, very small fraction of the population is transgender people. Very, very small percentage of the population are transgender. Of course, you're going to have a non-marginalized or a non-transgender person play this role. It's fictional, okay, first of all. In other words, acting. Okay, so this makes sense because he can act as a transgender person. That's why acting exists. Okay, obviously, in other movies, like, I don't know, say The Lion King, right? Obviously, the actor who played Simba wasn't a lion, but he could pretend like he was a lion, okay, for acting purposes and for the purposes of the film, okay, because it's fictional. It's fictional. That's why acting has always been, prior to people discovering how that's how it's always been. People act a part that they aren't actually like at all in real life, okay? That's way acting has been for years and years and years. Now, it was that way for years and years and years prior to NBC News discovering how clickable it can be to accuse people of isms or phobias that don't exist, okay? They're accusing, obviously, the creator of Squid Game and Netflix or whatever of being transphobic or homophobic, I don't know. Because they didn't cast this character as a transgender actor, like in real life, and they had a straight male pretend to be a transgender actor or transgender character. This is where we're at now, okay? NBC News content is truly shining in this piece, and when I tell you to stop listening to mainstream media, this is what I'm talking about. NBC News journalists, or journalismers is what I like to call them. I don't like to call them by their actual title because that means that I respect you as a journalist. I don't. You're a journalismer. And this truly shows what their content is all about. Viewers who are calling out the show. And by viewers, they mean two people. Okay. So in this article, I combed through it, and they have like 3 random idiots on the internet who gave their dumb opinion online. Like, it's not a ton of people. And this is one X user with 600 followers, so this isn't somebody with a large following. There was another X user that actually sounds like a spam account. It wasn't even actually somebody with a real name. The spam account, or the X account, I don't know if it's spam. It sounds like spam. It says body count token 1000X. I don't even know, like, what? So these are the people who are calling out the show for their, transphobia, for not not having a transgender actor play this transgender character, and rather they had a cisgender or straight male play the transgender character and act this fictional role, right? So NBC, they only report 2 people who are calling out the show for this, and they're not even like 2 legitimate people. There's one X user who has been like 600 followers, so okay, maybe that one. But then there's this other one that sounds like a spam account on X. It's like, why are you even quoting this guy on X? I'm not even sure if this is a real account. Like, yes, I've changed my mind about Squid Game, and I'm going to protest Squid Game and the producers of Squid Game, and I'm going to say that they're transphobic because body count token 1000X on this X account is upset. And I've changed my opinion totally about Squid Game and the creators of Squid Game, and they should be embarrassed by their problematic casting decision of allowing a cisgender male to play the character of a transgender individual. And give me a break. I've got to take a quick break. Quick commercial break, but we're going to be right back. We're going to be talking a little bit about Kathy Griffin, who actually believes that Trump is going to send her to an internment camp, I guess. Stick around. Oh, boy. All right. So I don't want someone who doesn't know their own sex examining me. Yeah. Well, and really what I think it is, it's just this public a university, or even not even public university, private universities do this too. What do nurses, what do people in the healthcare industry and the people in the education industry have in common? To become an educator, you need 4 years of school. To become a nurse, you need 4 years of school. So they all go to schools, college, and they get a college degree. So that's the common denominator here. They're all indoctrinated with these beliefs, and they think that, in order to function in society, they have to wear their like transgender, I'm a transgender activist pin. And they think that that's like going to it's like virtue signaling. That's what it is. They feel like they have to virtue signal because it was ingrained in them when they went to college, that's what you do, that you have to virtue signal your political beliefs. If you are a nurse, or if you are an educator, you have to use your platform as a nurse or use your platform as an educator to progress or advance this ideology. So that way, trans kids don't die or something crazy like that. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about Kathy Griffin. She says that, come see me before I'm in one of those internment camps. Yes, in a recent radio interview, she told her fans to go see one of her comedy shows before Trump is inaugurated because she is scared that Trump is going to put her on a, quote, enemies list. And she suggested that she could be sent to an internment camp. Give me a break. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Okay. George Soros and Hillary Clinton, they Presidential Medal of Honor, Freedom Medal of this is one of the highest civilian honors, and it's disgraceful that these individuals. George Soros has funded the destruction of American cities. Okay, he's behind the funding with the pro-Palestinian protests all over college campuses, the destruction, the anti-Semitism. Okay, so his far left candidates put criminals over cops. Okay, so he's funded Kim Fox. George Soros funded Kim Fox. She put consistently criminals over cops, illegal aliens over American citizens, and lawfare over public safety. And this is chaos over rule of law. Okay, George Soros is destroyed American cities, destroyed them with his candidates that he's funded. And the fact that he got this Presidential Medal of Freedom is just so disturbing. And Hillary Clinton, also a large contributor of the destruction of America. Oh boy. But I do want to get to this story. Kathy Griffin, like I said, comedian Kathy Griffin, and I use comedian very, very loosely here. I don't think that she's very funny at all. She warned her fans to check out her comedy show before President-elect Donald Trump locks her up during his second term. Yes. So Kathy Griffin, according to her, everyone should watch her show, as it may be one of her last shows, because she believes that Trump is going to put her in an internment camp and put her on an enemy list. Kathy Griffin says that she's scared that Trump has put her on an enemies list, while suggesting that she could be sent to an internment camp. Can somebody say TDS? I'm on the enemies list, she says. That's very obvious. He was very, very scared when I did a parody photo of him. I love how she calls it a parody photo. I don't think you understand the definition of parody, really, but this is a photo of him and a Halloween mask, and I had a lot of ketchup. You acted like you had decapitated Donald Trump, and you used a mask of his face, and you held it up as if you had decapitated him, okay? And she says, and he brings up my name every chance he gets. I don't remember the last time Trump talked about Kathy Griffin, okay? During a recent radio interview, she told her fans to come see her because she's afraid of what will happen after Trump is inaugurated. Come see me before I get before I'm in one of those internment camps. So according to Fox News, Griffin promoted her touring comedy show on WGN Radio, Chicago's WGN Radio. And in her segment, she described being able to travel again after her controversial decapitated Trump image from 2017 put her on a no-fly list. Okay, so she acted like she was going to decapitate Donald Trump with this photo. Like, this is an infamous photo. She holds up a bloody Donald Trump head. And this was from 2017, and then that landed her on a no-fly list. And of course, that didn't last very long. And really, I think it was just, like for optics. Like, oh look, we're going after Kathy Griffin. Although all of the bureaucrats, probably loved the decapitated photo of Donald Trump, but they put her on a no-fly list temporarily, and it's unclear how she even has enough fans to be on tour. I guess she's on some sort of comedy show tour. And like I said, but it's doubtful this statement will convince many people to attend this comedy tour show that she's got going on. Okay, that come see me before I'm in one of these internment camps. Nobody's going to come watch you, Kathy Griffin. This statement of yours that I'm going to be thrown into an internment camp, it's not funny. It's pathetic. She joked the situation could get even worse after Trump returns to office. Come see me before I'm in one of these internment camps. And the thing of it is, it's not illegal for the president of the United States to actually do that, to put somebody in an internment camp, which is why this isn't funny. And, this isn't going to make anybody giggle, because you probably actually believe that because your TDS is that bad, lady. And she says, I'm on an enemies list. That's very obvious. Oh boy, Trump doesn't have an enemy list, Kathy Griffin, okay? And I can guarantee you're not on it. You probably don't even cross his mind, even in the slightest. Donald Trump doesn't even probably know you, okay? So these people take themselves way too seriously, and she's blinded by how much she despises our soon-to-be president, Donald Trump, okay? To see that she is not even on his radar. He doesn't even probably know who you are. And the fact that she loses sleep probably over the lost election, the left lost the election, and she loses over the fact that sleep over the fact that the left lost the election. While Trump probably forgets that this woman even exists on a day-to-day, and she's losing sleep over this lost election, that tells you that she's got severe TDS, and it makes her jokes all that much more pathetic when she jokes around, oh, I'm going to be stuck in an internment camp. I can't even get a giggle out of this, and I don't think anybody would, because it's clear that she is losing sleep over this lost election. She's freaking out that Donald Trump is going to throw her in an internment camp. And we can all see that Donald Trump doesn't even know really who this woman is. Okay. Oh boy, I gotta shift gears, and we're gonna be back here in just a second, but we're gonna wrap up the show. Hopefully you are staying in, avoiding the icy roads, the slippery roads. Road conditions are slick, so be careful. It wasn't super thick blanket of snow. It's kind of like a sheet of snow for Bloomington-Normal, but as you go down south, there is a thick white blanket of snow, and whether you dread it or you love it, there's definitely no denying that. I just love how it makes you feel like the reset. I do, like, if I have to drive in it, hate the snow. If I don't have to drive in it, I'm like, yes, this is awesome. It's quiet, it's soft, and like, it just feels a little bit different. So slow down, grab a warm drink, and enjoy the coziness of this snow, because we haven't seen snow in quite some time. I thought we were going to avoid snow this year because of how warm December was and how warm everything's been. I mean, heck, I had ladybugs coming into my house. These little suckers, they're just everywhere. I had ladybugs coming in my house like in November, and I was like, and it was warm. I was like, oh man, I was like, are these like little buggers going to die yet? I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Was Coco? No way. No way. Really? That's so weird. Obviously, that's like a nickname. I don't think that that's an actual name. And if it is, it's just strange. But yeah, there's no way that I would actually let somebody with a severe mental illness inspect my physical condition or my mental condition at a doctor's office. I'm sorry, but if you're a transgender nurse and you come into the room, I'm just going to politely request that I have a different doctor or a different nurse. That's what I would have done. I would have just politely requested, hey, is it all right if I get a different nurse? I just would prefer somebody else, and try not to get into the details, but I would just say politely, I'm going to ask you to hop off my case. I would prefer a different nurse. We've got so much to get to. I mean, this morning has just been crazy. I do want to get to this story. Apparently, out of New Orleans, there's this assistant district attorney, an ADA, that committed suicide, which is interesting considering what's going on in New Orleans. And there's so much that I could get to today about that story. I kind of stepped off that story a little bit. There's some more things that I kind of want to research. There's the Sean Ryan podcast. I'm sure you're aware of it. This email that suggests that the individual in the Cybertruck that exploded, he knew something about the drones that were all along the Northeast there. He had known something about it, and that China was gathering intelligence, and they were planning an attack on the United States. Okay, and there was this email that he had drafted up, and I mean, it's gotten really weird. The story has really taken a turn. Let me look up the ADA that committed suicide. I want to get to that story here. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. We're going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Not a whole lot of cancellations, closures, delays. Olympia was delayed by an hour this morning. Hayworth, there's daycare services that operate out of Hayworth Elementary School. Those services have been suspended for January 6th due to the weather. Outside of that, a lot of school districts were already closed for today because the kids are coming off of a holiday break and they're supposed to be back on Tuesday, January 7th. For a lot of these school districts. So before I took the break, I was telling you a little bit about this New Orleans ADA, this assistant district attorney found dead in an apparent suicide. So Ian Kirsting, he's 34 years old, assistant district attorney in New Orleans, was found dead on Saturday night in an apparent suicide. Kirsting was found inside the Orleans Parish District Attorney's office building with self-inflicted gunshot wound. The DA's office released a statement. The Orleans Parish DA's office family suffered a terrible tragedy on Saturday night. ADA Ian Kirsting was a beloved member of our office, and we send our love and our deepest condolences to his family. It's important that we support each other right now, and we ask the media to respect the privacy of the individuals impacted. So Kirsting, of course, was this prosecutor, and he specialized in sexual assault cases, okay? But I don't think we should ignore the fact that this report comes after the entire city of New Orleans has been receiving national attention for a terrorist attack that took place on New Year's. 42-year-old Shamand Dinjabar drove a Ford F-150 Ford Lightning, it's an electric truck, into crowds of people, killing at least 14 people, injuring many others, Jabbar. This story has kind of taken a wild turn, especially considering the Cybertruck bomber. And the Matthew Leivelsberger is his name. Okay. And he was also close to 40 there, or later 30s. And he blew up this Cybertruck. They served in the military, same base. They were at the same base. And now there's this email, and it was on the Sean Ryan podcast, okay, where Sean Ryan discussed this email about that Cybertruck bomber, and how this email suggests that he knew something about the drones in the Northeast, how they were flying overhead. We talked about that, how, Tony Blinken wasn't like going to shoot any of them down because it'd be dangerous to shoot them down. But he, in this email, suggested that he knew something about it and that China was planning an attack and gathering intelligence using these drones. And he wrote up an email essentially saying, hey, if something happens to me, know that it's because they know that I know about the drones. Okay, so that's a really interesting email. They've confirmed it. The authorities have confirmed that this email is real. But they're, of course, spinning it, and they're saying, hey, he's a kook, yada, yada. We also can't ignore that this guy seems to be really involved in this Ukrainian Legion. Ukraine Legion that you guys remember hearing about this. Ryan Routh, the second attempted assassin on Donald Trump's life, he was part of this Ukrainian Legion thing. It's like a fake military. It's just all really weird, and the story is just developing, and there's so much coming out. And I didn't talk about it a whole lot because I want to have a couple of news days here where I unpack everything and provide you the details as they come out, and provide that facts, rather than fiction. So there's just so much coming out about it right now, and I don't want to get on here and speculate too much. I will provide you, the different theories and what people are saying is going on with that story. But just totally weird, a lot of these things that are developing, and not just the Cybertruck bomber case, but also the New Orleans. Now they're saying that he acted alone, Jabbar, and that he wasn't a part of ISIS at all, and he just was inspired by ISIS. So you guys have a blessed day. Stay safe. Those roads are slick. So tune in tomorrow at bright and early 6 a.m. You've been listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington-Normal.